Welcome to Passion for the Pastime, where baseball lives 24/7, 365. Catch conversations with beat writers, broadcasters, current and former players of all levels. Now here's your host,
Walter Balsetta. Whoops, I fumbled. I got to get out of here.
Walter Balsetta.
Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome to a post-Christmas Passion for the Pastime. We are back. It's been way too long. When you're on vacation, you start to forget what day of the week it is, so I have to remind myself it's Friday today, and I was like, oh, shit, doing a Passion for the Pastime podcast. What's up, everybody? I've been drinking my coffee, so I'm a little bit jittery this morning. Or this afternoon, but welcome in to Passion for the Pastime once again. It is December 27th, and yes, we still do not have a Corbin Burnes signing. What does that mean? How confident do we remain? If you heard me earlier on this week on Dirty Work with Derek Papa on Christmas Eve, I'm still very confident. We'll get into that as well as we get into this show today. But welcome in, everybody. I hope everyone had a great Christmas, a great holiday season. And also, I do have some questions about the holidays on how long do you keep up your Christmas decorations? We'll get into all of that, but welcome in, everyone. If this is your first time to Passion for the Pastime, my name is Walter Balsetta. I currently work at KMBR 680 in San Francisco, home of the San Francisco Giants and the San Francisco 49ers. But yeah, so I started this podcast years ago, and now it is finally on YouTube. We'll be having some interviews. We had Jesse Rogers on earlier was it this week? It was maybe last week. I believe it was this past week, I don't remember exactly when it was. But we had Jesse Rogers of ESPN. We had Kerry Crowley. We had Danny Dunn stop by the podcast as well. So a lot of fun stuff going on Passion for the Pastime. It's going to be a good time every single time that we come together. And today, I mean, it's December 27th, and we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on with Corbin Burnes, because it sounded like the Giants were really, really, really close to getting a deal done. And then all of a sudden, December 10th happens, and Corbin Burnes, Max Fried, boom, signs with the Yankees, 8 years, $218 million. And then it just kind of came to a halt. And you saw that coming a little bit, because you saw 218 and Corbin Burnes, obviously, and he's with Scott Boras, and he's a Boras client. We all know how this goes out. Giants fans know all too well with Blake Snell and everything, how it all transpired, or how it all happened last offseason. So now you look to this year, and you look to where the Giants currently stand in the off season. I mean, the Yankees have been super active. The Yankees have, it wasn't enough to get to the World Series and be embarrassed in front of the baseball world, but they have. I would arguably say you can't really make the statement of you lose Juan Soto and you're a better team, but I do think that the Yankees addressed a lot of their issues this offseason, so that's going to be really interesting. But so when you look to the off season and what has happened, it started off with a bang for the San Francisco Giants. Right before the winter meetings, they brought in Willy Adames, right? They brought him in for that 7-year, $182 million deal. And Giants fans were excited. There was a lot of optimism at that point, a lot of traction going into the winter meetings. And we were like, okay, this is not like years past. This is a new regime. This is Buster Posey, and we have full and utmost confidence in our Hall of Fame catcher. And we'll talk about the Hall of Fame next week, where I believe the voters have until the 31st to submit their ballots, and we got a lot of first timers on there. So we'll talk about that next week, and we'll kind of revisit the year of 2024, best of or worst of. Might do both. We'll see what we do. We'll have a couple of guests next week as well to finish out the year. But when you look to how the Giants started the off season, you thought that there was so much traction and you heard all these rumors and you hear that the Giants were in on Corbin Burnes. This is after the fact with Willy Adames signing. And there was so much optimism, and then it just came to a halt, right? And we're trying to find out the latest on Corbin Burnes and what's going on. You're starting to see some sources on X and Twitter putting out there about where contract negotiations are. We don't know. We don't know where it is, but all we can do is take it at face value and what it is, and what the Giants and what Buster Posey has said from the beginning is that their number one guy was Corbin Burnes this offseason. They obviously went out and got Willy Adames, and that addressed a huge need for this Giants team. And when you look to the Giants and what they need going into 2025, I think that the question is, what do you prioritize more? Do you prioritize the pitching? Because there is a lot of pitching arms on this team. I just don't know if they're up to the caliber that you would like for a team like the Giants to try to compete to get into the postseason. There's a lot of guys that you are high on, Hayden Birdsong and Kyle Harrison and Robbie Ray coming further removed from his Tommy John surgery. Jordan Hicks, I mean, he started off fantastic last year, but obviously first year as a starter, his arm kind of fell off at the end of the year. So it was to be expected, right? So there's a lot of bright spots in this rotation, but then the question also has to be answered is, where are the Giants in this transitional period? I mean, it is the changing of regimes. It is the Buster Posey era. Where are the Giants currently at? Are they in the want and drive to compete? Because then that would lead you to believe that they are all in on Corbin Burnes. Or are they in the development of their young players to see what they have in the farm system? It's tough to do both. It's tough to do both and develop. You kind of, in baseball, you have to decide if you're going to go one way or the other. So depending on this signing, I think that we will get a look into what the plans are for the Giants in this first year of the Buster Posey regime. Because if they go get Corbin Burnes, then that means that they want to compete now, and I expect more moves. If they don't do Corbin Burnes, then I would say that they're more in a transitional period, and you won't necessarily see someone else come in the offense. You'll probably see, Josh Bell at first base for the Giants. And I'm not saying that Josh Bell isn't a bad ball player, but I mean, you'd like to have somebody else in that at first base than Lamont Wade Jr. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Giants, with Corbin Burnes. But if you heard me earlier this week, I was on KMBR with Derek Papa and Dirty Work from 2 to 4:30 on Christmas Eve. And we were we got into the Giants discussion. We got into Corbin Burnes. And I will say it here on the podcast. I said it on Tuesday. Regardless of how this is being drawn out, how there's really no news, I'm still confident that the Giants are going to get Corbin Burnes. The reason being is that Buster Posey seems like he's a guy that knows what he wants and knows what it takes to win. We have seen him perform at a high level on the field, and I think that he takes that mentality directly into the front office. So you start looking at Buster Posey and what he has said. And what he has said is that he wants to get back to Giants baseball. What does that necessarily mean, right? Means homegrown talent. That's also a way that you can look at it. Homegrown talent with the pitching side, but pitching and defense, that's how they won championships. Now, if you look at spending money and spending on Corbin Burnes, you would say that is not the Giants' way, but to bring in Corbin Burnes to bolster up that pitching staff, to have him a 1A and a 1B, a Superman and Batman tandem, because it's not as Batman and Robin, because I wouldn't want to put Corbin Burnes or Logan Webb in that Robin status. But yeah, it's like a Batman and Superman type Justice League thing. And I'm nerding out. I'm sorry, I lost everybody there. But when you look to Corbin Burnes and what he brings to this team, I feel like that is enough to make this team compete. Yes, they need to address the offense, and we'll get into that and see, the longer that this goes on. And Mark Feinstein of MLB.com, he put out a story yesterday talking about, detailing a little bit about the Giants and the Corbin Burnes situation. So I'll bring that to your attention and see how you feel about it. I also think that the sources that are being revealed, I think that it's also, tactics. It's you want to put a number, a offer on the table for your free agent, and if you threaten, not necessarily threaten, but if you say that you are feeling a certain type of way and that you might make a pivot, then that could maybe make that camp a little bit nervous, right? You also have to factor in the Blue Jays standpoint, and they are also in on Corbin Burnes, but they have other financial obligations that they are trying to commit to with Vlad Jr. That's all that makes this whole situation a little bit weird for the Blue Jays. But we all know that the Blue Jays have wanted to bring in a free agent for as long as they've attempted, right? So when you look at Corbin Burnes and the Giants, we'll just get into Mark Feinstein, right? Of MLB.com. He put out a piece yesterday, I believe yesterday, and he was talking about the pivots. And that was something that when you look to the Giants of the past, they pivoted, but they didn't really have a backup plan where they were going to look at Shohei Ohtani and they were going to look at Aaron Judge, and then it ended up being, Jorge Soler and Michael Conforto and Mitch Haniger. Those were like kind of break glass situations. Oh crap, we have to get something because it looks like we didn't do anything all offseason, because they put in all of their effort into those free agents. Now they are kind of in that situation a little bit here, because when you look to the free agents that are available in the pitching aspect, you got Max Scherzer, you got Justin Verlander, and you got a couple of other pitchers out there that are kind of at the end of their career, and you can easily bring them in here for a low dollar amount, and you still work on developing your young arms in the farm system. So it's really interesting to take a look at that, because when you look at all the other pitchers that are available right now, there's not a lot. A lot of them came off of the board last week, with Sean Manaea going back to the Mets, with Jesus Luzardo getting traded to the Phillies, right? And you start looking at all of these options coming off of the board. The Giants don't necessarily have that pivot option anymore. That's also a reason why I'm so confident in that the Giants are going to bring in Corbin Burnes. And I think what the delay is, and I don't know how everybody else is feeling about this, and let me know in the YouTube chat. What's up, EB? EB here. Good afternoon. Just got the notification. Great that you're on. Hell yeah, man. I'm going to be doing it today. And then on Monday, I'm going to be doing it at 2:00 on Monday. So it'll be a little bit of an earlier show. So mark your calendars for that. But when you look to what the Giants have done, and you look at Corbin Burnes, and they might potentially pivot, right? Yeah, get to Cavill already. Hell yeah, Derek. I'll get to Cavill. He's a piece of shit. So let's go to the pivot option, right? Because there isn't really something that is big for the Giants. That's why I think that they are so invested, and they're going to go after Corbin Burnes at whatever cost, because there isn't that backup option. Now, they can also pivot to other needs for the Giants on the offensive side, because when you look to their offense, the upgrades are you could see them. The upgrade is at first base. You could see it in the outfield. They need that power bat. Someone even a DH, right? I mean, they need to have someone that can bring the thump. I know Willy Adames brings a lot of that with the 30 plus home run season. I know he adds a lot to that Giants team. But when you look at the lineup as a whole, I mean, you still don't really have a middle of the order bat. So what Mark Feinstein says here in his piece, I'll just read it for you guys on MLB.com. He essentially says that the Giants have grown, not irritated. Hold on, let me find the exact words on what he said, but that they were growing pretty much impatient with the market of Corbin Burnes, and that could lead them to pivot elsewhere, right? So sources for the Giants that the Giants have an offer on the table, but sources have indicated that the Giants may be getting impatient, prompting them to consider other ways to improve the club via free agency. Now, I think that statement there isn't necessarily the Giants pivoting to another pitching option. It can be the Giants upgrading their offense. And you look at everyone else that is there. I don't know if Pete Alonso is a realistic possibility. I would love to have him in here, but we all know that Bryce Eldridge is coming, and Bryce Eldridge has played in the outfield before, and you hate to put someone of his caliber and someone of his age at the DH spot. Now you could put Pete Alonso at the DH spot because his glove isn't, it's serviceable, but you're not going to lose games because of Pete Alonso. But he's not a Gold Glove caliber first baseman, right? So it's going to be really interesting to look at that aspect. But I think if the Giants were to get off of Corbin Burnes, they can pivot to Anthony Santander. They can pivot, not realistically, but to Teoscar Hernandez, right? I mean, he already elected not to come here of his own will last year during free agency, and he had ended up to go to the Dodgers. So I don't know how much he wants to come now, and maybe that changes because Buster Posey is in the front office. Maybe that's a different situation. But you have Pete Alonso, you have Anthony Santander, and you have Teoscar Hernandez. I think all of those guys would be a significant upgrade to anything else that the Giants have at those respective positions. That could be the pivot. Now, would you be comfortable with that? Would you be comfortable with a pivot going to the offense, knowing that this pitching rotation is a little younger, and knowing that this pitching rotation isn't as strong as you would want it to be? Because what was the mantra for the Giants? Pitching and defense. So I would like to have everybody's thoughts on that. It would be really interesting to see the Giants make that pivot if they were to go all in. I don't think you get both. That would be very, that would be really ballsy of the organization to get Corbin Burnes and then double down and go get like an Anthony Santander, which would be great. But again, I don't see that in the cards. But also the factor and why this is drawing out so much with Corbin Burnes, in my opinion, is I think that this is tied directly to Roki Sasaki. I think that it is tied directly to that international posting, that international window of Roki Sasaki from Japan, 23 years old, phenom. Anyone wants him on their MLB roster, regardless of his. And I don't even know what the history with the media was, but I guess he just doesn't like the media. But San Francisco would be a nice, soft landing spot for Roki Sasaki, who, again, he said that he wants to be kind of in a low-key media market. And I would say, obviously, San Francisco is a big market, but we're more relaxed than a Los Angeles. I can see him go to San Diego, but more lax than a New York, right? So it would be really interesting to see where he ends up going there. I know that the talk with John Heyman and Ken Rosenthal, they've all talked about Roki Sasaki, and they've said that he is more than likely going to go to the Dodgers or the Padres. But this is where I get to the Roki Sasaki kind of dynamic of this Corbin Burnes thing, is that not necessarily because the Giants want him. You would be a fool to say, oh no, we don't want him, or like to even have a pitch. I don't even know if it's been made official that the Giants have met with Roki Sasaki. I know that Susan Slusser put out a note earlier last week that it was suspected that they had a meeting already, but I haven't seen anything. And that's also the thing about this new Buster Posey regime, is that there's not a lot of leaks. So you can't really get a good read on what's going on. So let's assume that they did meet with Roki Sasaki, and let's assume that everything that Buster Posey has said in the past about Roki is legitimate, you take it at face value. He would be over the moon. He would want him to be a part of the San Francisco Giants, of course. So you look at that, and that's why I think that there's a holdup, is that the Giants do want Roki Sasaki, and you can get him for a much cheaper dollar amount with the international pool money. I think the Giants are at $5 million on that the last time I checked, and I want to say that's like 17th among Major League Baseball clubs. So again, they don't have the most money, but it just depends on where Roki wants to end up going, right? And what a city and what a team could do for them as far as their brand, right? So you look at that and you look at all those factors. If the Giants were to end up getting him, obviously you would want to pay $5 million over $245 million, because that's kind of where it is with Corbin Burnes. But the reason being, even if the Giants don't get him, it is important to note where Roki Sasaki goes. And I think, and you would hate to be reactionary, and you wouldn't necessarily want to make decisions and want to make moves based on what's happening in your division. But that is the fact of the matter. You want to be able, you don't want to be left in the dust like the previous regime. You don't want to be light years behind the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers. I do think that the Giants are really far removed from the gap of the Dodgers and the Giants. I think they're a little bit closer to the Padres and the Diamondbacks. I mean, they're so young and talented. Just the gap is getting a little bit longer. So let's just say that Roki ends up going to the Dodgers, or he ends up going to the Padres, or let's say he goes to Arizona for some reason. That would mean that the Giants see that and they're like, no, we need Corbin Burnes. We need to bring him in here. We need to answer fire with fire. We need to answer that move, and we need to counter it with Corbin Burnes and bring him in here at all costs. So it would be really interesting to see how that all develops with Roki Sasaki, with Corbin Burnes. Again, 8 years, 245 for Corbin Burnes is maybe what you're looking at. Maybe it's even higher right now. The Giants do have an offer on the table per Mark Feinson of MLB.com. They do have an offer on the table. And I mean, you're just trying to play the waiting game. You're trying to see how long, because if that does happen, if Roki Sasaki does go to a division opponent, maybe that prompts the Giants, and maybe that's what the Boris Camp and Scott and Corbin Burnes, maybe that's what they're waiting on. But that can prompt the Giants to want to spend more to make sure that they get their guy, because there isn't necessarily other pivot options at this moment, unless they just want to focus on developing. And at that point, I would say that the Giants aren't looking to compete if they don't bring in Corbin Burnes, or if they don't pivot to another piece that can help them win ball games, especially in the offensive side of things. So it's going to be really interesting to follow all that along. Roki Sasaki, January 15th, that's where a lot of the insiders are saying that it's going to go down, is January 15th to the 23rd. And his window closes on the 23rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see that on develop, because I do think that the two separate players, I think that there is a correlation. I think that they are connected in some way, because obviously if the Giants can get them, they don't need Corbin Burnes, but also if they go to a divisional opponent, you can't come up empty-handed, especially now, because all of the starting pitchers that were kind of, in that second tier underneath Max Fried and underneath Blake Snell, underneath Corbin Burnes, they're all kind of off the board now. So unless the Giants are going to go trade, which I could also see the Giants trading Lamont Wade Jr. for Sonny Gray, I don't know if that does it for you, but it would be really interesting. I don't know what happens first, a Corbin Burnes signing or a Roki Sasaki. I think it just all kind of develops, how it develops down the stretch, and who's named as finalists for Roki Sasaki, obviously, and what the conversation is there. But the Giants, they do need to upgrade. They do need to bring in some extra pieces to their lineup. They do need to bring in pitchers to kind of, make this offseason stand out more than it has, because man, it started off so good that with the signing of Willy Adames, that it would just be an absolute bummer if they didn't do anything else to address their team needs, whether that be, with Anthony Santander in the outfield with that power bat. I would love to see that. I would love to have that happen, but that might cost you Corbin Burnes. So again, the question is, what do you value more? Do you want to have that power bat in the middle of the lineup? Do you want the Giants to pivot off of it? Because I think that it can be seen as a failure if Corbin Burnes does not come to San Francisco, being that they were so invested and they were seen as front runners. Everything that has been kind of broadcasted and reported has pointed to the Giants bringing in Corbin Burnes. That's a lot of pressure, but for the Giants not to deliver or to even bring anyone else to supplement not getting Corbin Burnes, I think that would be a drastic failure for this front office and for Buster Posey. And I just don't see Buster Posey as being a failure, and I don't see Buster Posey as kind of laying down. But I do know that the Giants, they have their line, they have what they want, they have what they want to have Corbin Burnes at, what they feel is a safe number, a safe amount of years. Who knows what that is? I don't know if they're kind of in the 220, 230 range. It would be really interesting to find all that out when it's all said and done. If the Giants are kind of throwing all the money at the wall, or if they're kind of at this mark and they're waiting on Roki Sasaki, and if Roki Sasaki signs with them, then obviously they pull off of it. But maybe they're at this mark where they're comfortable with signing Corbin Burnes, and when Roki Sasaki signs elsewhere, then maybe that number jumps up, and then that's where it becomes a bidding war, and things crank up, because the teams that were in on Roki Sasaki and missed out, then they're going to go after Corbin Burnes. So I would love to see the Giants lock in Corbin Burnes before Roki Sasaki decides, because I think that they can maybe get him at a lower amount. But obviously Scott Boras and Corbin Burnes understand that aspect of things. So it's going to be really, really fun to see. I don't think anything happens before the end of the year. I think it's all tied into Roki Sasaki. I think it's all tied into that window of the 45-day the posting period with Roki Sasaki that ends again January 23rd at 5 p.m. And 2 days before that is the announcement of the Hall of Fame class 2025. A lot of good guys on that list. Ichiro is going to be a first ballot. I mean, if he's not a first ballot unanimous vote, then I mean, what are we doing? I mean, the Hall of Fame is all, it's a flawed system anyway, because there's guys that are in there that shouldn't be in there, and there's guys that are in there that aren't in there that should be in there, and that guy is Barry Lamar Bonds. You guys, we'll get into that conversation next week as far as the Hall of Fame voting, but yeah, that's coming up January 21st, I believe. January 21st is when the inductees are announced for the 2025 class. A lot of first timers on there, and I think a lot of guys that are going to get in for sure. So you guys, I am going to end this one here. It was a shorter show today because I am on vacation. But we'll get back at it on Monday. Monday will be a 2:00 show. 2:00 show on Monday, and we'll break down. We'll see what's going on with Corbin Burnes, see if there's any breaking news. I don't think there is going to be anything. It is Friday. Something can happen over going into the weekend, and in which case I will be right back here. So set your notifications on Passion for the Pastime 100%. And yeah, we'll continue the conversation there. And yeah, I'm gonna go downstairs and see if the Christmas decorations are still up, because we have been having a conversation over the last couple of days and into into how long is too long or how quick is too quick to have your Christmas decorations up. So I'm gonna go downstairs and fully expect the tree to be done, to be all the ornaments to be off the tree, and no sign of Christmas life anywhere. I could expect that going downstairs as well. So you guys have a good one. Enjoy this weekend, the final weekend of 2024. Damn, it's kind of crazy to believe that this year is wrapping up. I mean, it ends on Tuesday. That is crazy. This year has been a roller coaster of a ride. There's been a lot of things, a lot of transition in my life, in my work life, and just to see that it's ending in a couple of days, and this is the last weekend of the year. It's kind of crazy to think about that, but yeah, we'll recap the year. We'll give you the best moments of 2024. I'll give you the worst moments of 2024. And we'll talk about that next week. And also we'll be talking with Eric Engel. I don't know if he's in the chat anywhere, but we'll be talking with Eric Engel of the Locked On Podcast Network. He does a lot of the post-cast shows of the Giants, of the Niners, of the Warriors. We'll kind of go like a little whip around the Bay Area with the Bay Area teams, but we'll definitely get into Giants because he used to work at KNBR, and every time that we would talk, we would talk Giants, and those conversations could go forever. So who knows how long that show will be on Monday, but make sure to tune in 2:00 on Monday, Passion for the Pastime. Set your notifications and tell your friends that we are still doing shows, even though it is the holiday week. I know everyone's on vacation. I'm on vacation too, but got to talk ball. Got to do that every single day, 365 up until the end of the year, which is on Tuesday, the end of 2024. So we'll get into all of that, but you guys have a good one. I'll check in to the chat one more time before I get out of here. Also, getting back to Cavill. Yeah, Susan Slusser put out a piece that Cavill is resigning. If you don't know him, he is the president of the Athletics, not the Oakland Athletics anymore. So yes, Derek, job accomplished for Cavill. He can now ride off into the sunset. He did his Thanos, right? Like he collected the Infinity Stones, snapped his fingers. The A's are out of Oakland, and now he's just on his farm, just watching the sunset with that little stupid grin on his face. God, I can't stand Cavill. Can't stand the A's either. I was thinking about, like, because I'm in the East Bay and Sacramento isn't too far. I would say maybe driving wise, it's like 15 minutes longer than me driving to the Coliseum. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But getting up to Sacramento, it's quick, and the atmosphere, the ballpark at Sutter Health Park, it's an intimate environment, right? You're really close to the action. So I was like, man, to go see major league ball players in that ballpark, that might be cool, but like to support anything that the A's do from here on out, I don't know if I can stomach it to do it. I might do it one time and see how it feels, and I'll probably have to go like when the Yankees play, or maybe not the Yankees, maybe just maybe the Angels, like when Mike Trout is healthy, right? I can go see him play in the outfield, sit on the lawn. I mean, it's such a great environment, like for River Cats games, but it feels minor league. It feels minor league. So when you go there, I don't know what like renovations are going to be doing and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to look at all that. I will probably go down there. Maybe I'll do a live broadcast from the stadium or anything. Give you guys updates on that. But I just can't stand anything with the A's, with that organization, just to support them in that aspect. But maybe got to check it out just once. Maybe I don't. I'm trying to convince myself to go to Sacramento and watch the A's play. So I don't know if it's gonna happen. But yeah, Dave Cavill can suck it 100%. That stupid grin of his. Lori chiming in. Do you think Roki would want to play with Corbin Burnes? I think Roki would want to go somewhere that he can shine, and I don't think that Corbin Burnes really has anything to do with it. from what I've heard, I feel like he doesn't want to play with Shohei. And he looked up to Yu Darvish, who pitches for the Padres, in his career more than Shohei. So I don't know what the determining factors would be for Roki. I don't think that Corbin Burnes would really move the needle for Roki Sasaki at all. Yeah, that's just my opinion. I don't know if that would change anything. I think that maybe if Corbin Burnes is there, that means that the Giants are more committed to winning. So maybe that is a motivating factor. But I think ultimately Roki's going to go where Roki wants to go, and there isn't really anything that the Giants can do to convince him. I think he's just going to go where he feels comfortable, where he thinks that maybe he can win. And obviously with the with like advertisers and incentives and what teams can offer him outside of baseball and living situation. Like, I mean, there's a whole bunch of factors that go into it. I thought I read somewhere that that his wife or his girlfriend was from Boston. Maybe I'm mixing up my players, but yeah. So that was an interesting note that I thought that I saw. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. But I don't think Corbin Burnes has anything to add to Roki Sasaki to reel him in or not. EB need to get Vlad Guerrero and then concentrate on the pitching staff. Dude, EB, you're speaking my language, bro. Vlad Jr., I would love to have him here. But then also now that you're starting to hear the contract negotiations, and I mean, you see how much the Mets and Pete Alonso, that whole situation with the contract negotiation, you're seeing how long that's taking. And it's because I think that first baseman, and I think that, I don't know if Vlad is overpricing himself, but definitely Pete Alonso is. Pete Alonso overshot the market, and now you saw everybody come off the board for like 1 and 2 year deals. Pete Alonso, I mean, he's not going to get anything close to what he had anticipated, especially if he goes back to the Mets, because the Mets are trying to nickel and dime everything that they can for Pete Alonso. So I don't really see Vlad Jr. as a viable option, because when you look to that whole situation in Toronto, if the reports are true that there was a $340 million offer on the table for Vlad Jr., and he said, absolutely not, I value myself way higher than that number, it's not even close. Just like, all right, bro. Like, okay. I like Vlad Jr. I like him, but damn, like that is negotiation tactics, and that makes it to where the Blue Jays have to sign him because he has zero trade value now, because he's going into his, I believe this is his final year on the contract, final year of arbitration. So then he's going to go into free agency next offseason. And anyone that you trade him to now is just going to be like, it's a 5-month rental. Like, I'm not giving you a lot. Like, he wants to sign, unless you go into it with the mentality of, I'm going to give this guy $500 million. Like that's kind of, and I don't see that happening for the Giants aspects. Like, maybe he can go somewhere else. Maybe he'll go to the Dodgers. I don't know. Maybe he'll go to Boston. He's comfortable in that division. I could see that as a possibility. He'll probably play Pepper with the Green Monster. So, I don't know what the status is. It sounds like the Blue Jays are really trying to bring him back. And if that number gets too rich again, because of the dollar amount, and because he's going to go into free agency, Blue Jays aren't going to get anything. So they might as well try to ride it out for one more year, try to make the playoffs, try to see what they can do, instead of trading him and try to bring him back at a decent dollar. But it sounds like Vlad Jr. wants way more than $340 million that was reportedly offered to him earlier this offseason. So I don't know how that would happen with Vlad Jr., but I don't think he's going to be wearing orange and black anytime soon, especially with all of those all of those reports coming out. Pat H, what's up, Pat H? Let's see. I feel the same way, Walt. Very mixed feelings about going to SAC. Yeah, I mean, I love to go watch ball. Like I'll go watch ball. I like to go out to the River Cats. I like to go to San Jose. But it's just it's the A's. It's like putting any money into the pocket. Now, if I get free tickets, if anybody gives me free tickets and I'll take anybody, I'll go. But like just on principle alone, like I don't want to give any money to that organization because of what they've done to the city, and we still haven't. What was that? I just heard a huge crash. Oh, you know what? I think the garbage is getting picked up outside. Yeah, it's a garbage can, dude. I thought something crashed in my house. I was like, oh, I got to end this podcast now. Yeah, it's the trash guys outside, but yeah, no, it's just to give money to that organization, to Fisher and just everything that they've done to the city of Oakland. It's just it pisses me off, man. Like I'm not even an A's fan. I'm a baseball fan for sure. But I loved going to the Coliseum, especially before the balanced schedules, where you're seeing every team all the time, right? The American League teams would come into Oakland and you want to see some of them, and I would go out to the Coliseum. I would go see them. There was like a yearly tradition that me and my girlfriend would go out to the Coliseum and see Mike Trout play. And that was mainly because of me, because I wanted to go see Mike Trout, but it was an opportunity to go catch a ball game, right? We love baseball. So yeah, for him to take that away from me, because it's all about me. But for the A's to take that away from me and take that away from all the fans, like it saddens me to know that like one of my best friends has a kid, right? And he's a huge Ace fan, and it's like, well, I think now he pivoted to the Padres because he said to hell with that. When Bob Melvin left, that's when he left to the Padres. So then when he came to the Giants, I was just like, bro, you gonna be a Giants fan now? You're gonna be a Giants fan now? But yeah, like you just think about his kid, and you start thinking about the next generation of baseball fans in the Bay Area. And it's like they're not gonna know the Coliseum. It's kind of like 49er fans like not knowing Candlestick. Like that just breaks my heart, man. It's like kind of Warrior fans, the younger Warrior fans not understanding what it was to go to Oracle, right? I mean, it's a huge part of the fandom, but more so with Oakland, because Oakland that was their last team. That was their last team, and that was the last thing that city had to kind of hold on to. So it hurts a little bit. It does hurt a little bit, and I'm feeling for A's fans 100%. So yeah, man. So it's going to be really interesting. I probably will end up going to Sacramento, but I'll do it pissed off. Like I'll go and I'll hate every second of it. But I'll definitely document it, and we'll talk about it when the season starts. Again, they're not the Oakland A's anymore. They're just the Athletics, which is also a weird thing. So I'm going to get out of here, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. We'll find out what's going on with Corbin Burnes, and if the Giants are going to make a pivot, if you want them to make a pivot, and if that's the best interest for the Giants moving forward is to upgrade their offense, or should they kind of just, buckle in and go all in on Corbin Burnes? How important is that to you guys? So we'll continue that conversation. We'll see if anything else develops from Corbin Burnes, from the Giants, if there is a true pivot, and what that pivot will be and what it means for the Giants in 2025. We'll get into that, but wrapping up 2024, we'll be back on Monday, again, 2:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be here. Set your notifications, Passion for the Pastimes. If you haven't done so yet, give me a like here and share the podcast. Bring all your friends. It's a good time here on Passion for the Pastime. We'll be here every weekday. Usually when I'm not on vacation, it's 6 p.m. But we'll be changing up the times a little bit to adjust to my vacation schedule. But Monday will be 2:00. I'll let you guys know what we do on New Year's Eve. It'll probably be a little bit earlier as well. Maybe I'll do it at 6 o'clock. We'll see. I'll let you know on Monday. Tune in then. We'll be talking with Eric Engel of the Lock On Podcast Network on Monday at 2 o'clock, maybe 2:30. We'll see what he can do if he's not snowboarding up in Tahoe. So we'll have to check in with his snowboarding schedule. But you guys have a good one. Be safe. Enjoy the final weekend of 2024. We'll be back on Monday, 2 o'clock. Set your notifications. Passion for the Pastime. I'm your host, Walter Ricardo Seta. Love doing this. Thank you guys for all stopping by today, and I will talk to you on Monday. Have a good one. Enjoy the last weekend. Be safe, and I'll talk to you next time.